Hello everyone, my name is Communist Llama, and I am here on the BaconCave server today to show off a queued minecart system that we have on our multiplayer server, and it actually works really well. And I was asked by a couple of the players on my server to show off how it works and show off what exactly happens here. Now, a couple of notes before we begin. We use a few plugins to make this work effectively. All of this can be done without plugins. It would just take an immense amount of space. The only plugin that's really significant, though, is called Palestone. It's a bucket plugin, and it allows you to wirelessly transmit signals via signs and switches. And this is a receiver node, and a send node is just a sign on a block. So that's the only real affecting thing. Obviously, I mean, you could physically set up very long pathways, but that just really is there to save space. Now, what we actually have here is a queued minecart system that uses these memory cells. Each of these sections right here is a memory cell. And what it does is it allows us to have minecart stations that, you know what? It's 7 in the morning, and I have a frappuccino, but I'm just going to show you what's going to happen. So this is my selector, and as you can see, it highlights exactly which option. Now, these signs would represent theoretical, like, minecart stations that we would go to. So obviously, like a market or another city, or across the ocean, whatever. But you can select each one, and it uses a little memory cell over here to keep that value. And then we have we also use Minecart Mania. If you're a big bucket user, you might know what Minecart Mania is. It allows me to do fun stuff like push buttons to deploy carts and push buttons to make them go. Now, what's going to happen here? Well, yeah, let's just show you. I'm going to send 3 carts with 3 different destinations in rapid succession. Well, fast enough at least. And if I jump over here, you'll see the 3 carts are on the track already. Oop, one instruction. When yeah, they each have different instructions for where to go, and when it hits, it cancels the one before it and loads the next instruction up, so that all 3 carts, despite the fact they were launched quickly on the same set of track, can go to 3 separate destinations without interrupting each other or interfering with each other. It's pretty safe. There's a very small latency of really less than a second that you can actually push the button between players. So this is a small little example. What I just did, I can do that again, but what I really want to show you is how it works. These are little registers. If you go on the Minecraft Wikipedia page, you can actually find the schematic for these little registers here. The switch on the right is an input that causes it to always display a redstone signal on the other side, and if you hit the left switch, it'll cancel it. This allows you to store, binary values, and having 5 of them in a row allows me to have 5 different options. Obviously, I don't have a binary encoder or decoder or anything like that, so I'm just using straight 5 different options. And I have 3 of these memory cells, and just the 1, 2, 3. Up there's obviously very, very large ones. We'll get to that later. And what these do is they institute like a queue. You'll also notice our server has no fall damage. Long story. So what happens is when a value comes through, a selected value gets transferred forward whenever the button is pressed. When that happens, this will light up, and it'll actually send a signal above. It'll stop canceling this, and well, that did not work at all. And it'll light up the is used function, basically. And is used sends it back to this memory cell, and actually sends this wire that goes across the front of them, and it causes it to be interrupted, and thus it can't move forward. The gist of it is that each of these cells holds a destination, and when it is filled, when it actually has a destination loaded into it, it sends a message behind it that says, "Hey, don't move any signal forward. Don't send any signal forward. We're full." And when it empties and that signal cancels, it'll automatically transfer a value forward in the queue. And I want to demonstrate that real quickly visually. So what I have here is the go button, and what this actually does is it sends a signal forward. It literally transmits the destination you chose. However, the card's obviously not going to go because I'm not down there. So we're going to watch this right here. Notice how this is the selector. This highlights the value. This also sends the value back to over there to highlight, which selection you made. It just is a simple active store. These are all of our passive memory cells. So I push that button, and you're going to notice it's going to change, and you're going to watch it. You can watch it rotate through. And I even made a little display over here that receives the signal and tells me for my last 2 memory cells which ones are in use. So if I hit that again, I can watch it cycle through again, and now both of those 2 memory cells are storing values, and this one is not. And this is highlighted to show that, hey, these 2 are. And this button will clear the last one. And generally, what happens is when a minecart goes through and it hits the end to go out to its destination over at the track selector over there, it'll hit a cancel button that'll cancel the last bit of memory, and when it clears, it'll obviously send a signal forward, will transfer everything forward in the queue. So I'm going to demonstrate that real quickly with the press of a button, and we're going to use this little visual aid over here. And you'll see that it clears down the bottom, and then it moves down, and that is now empty, that is full, and it gets transferred forward really fast. I'm going to encode 2 more instructions in so that all 3 registers or all 3 memory cells are now full. And I'll clear this one, and you can see that it empties, one moves down, that one's empty, and then it fills up. So obviously we had 3 instructions and they got moved forward. Now obviously this all depends on this wireless mod very heavily, and the reason that is because it's completely impractical to move any large amount of data over huge distances in Minecraft. So the wireless mod allows us to completely it allows us to have stations that are completely independent of one another. So if you were wondering how, if you've been on our server at all, if you're one of our players and you've used the minecart system from the Coliseum station, and it's actually bigger. This structure up here, this big one made out of brick that I totally did not cheat for. By the way, I'm Communist Llama. I run the server. I host the server. That's what I do in my spare time. This is actually a much larger version of what was down there, but it's basically the same, except instead of being 5 wide and 3 deep, this is 6 deep and 16 bits wide, which means that it can support up to 6 different instructions in the queue at once, and it can support up to 16 separate stations at once. These bridges that go across are 2 different functions. One of them is the canceling signal that causes the memory to clear itself whenever a signal is moved forward. The other, is the isUsed function, which tells the memory cell behind it not to send its memory forward. And this is completely functional. These 6, will you load already? Actually work, and they work very far away. If you visit our server map at baconcave.no-ip.org, :8123, I believe it is, for Dynmap for Bucket, you can actually see this huge structure, and if you look at the underground map, you can see that our minecart stations go for miles. And I'm going to end this segment of the video and move on to show you that.